Hey guys, how's it going? How's your week been so far? Mine has been actually really good. It's been busy and chill at the same time, or ease. Yeah, maybe more ease. It's been nice. I continue with the flow theme that I talked about last week. That's what it felt like. It's a short week. We had Easter Monday. We weren't open on Monday for, now you know that. We had a good weekend. It was just nice hanging with family. It was a very I'll say slow, but I don't mean it in that way as in it was boring. It was just, again, maybe just ease and flow again. Just we did things that we wanted and we just relaxed. It was really good. I actually even had time to play Fortnite with my daughter. She loves video games. She loves Fortnite. I have to admit, when I was younger, I loved video games. It was just a huge, I'll say distraction, but also something I loved. And as I'm getting older, interest isn't as big. I'm not as good. I don't know if they correlate. Fortnite, it's a shooting game. I'm not the best at shooting games. I just don't really love them. Never have. And we played. It's been a while since I played, and I was a bit rusty. And we teamed up, and she carried the team. She does really well. I'm usually the one that scrambles. She revives me. I die. She revives me again. That's just kind of how we play. I hold her back a lot in the game. Wonder if that means anything. Hopefully not. She said to me, "Dad, you should play more. Then you'd be better, and then we could do even better." And I said, "Yeah, I only play really to connect with Sarah, just to have that chance to hang out a little bit. We do other things besides video games to connect, and it's just that that's an easy one. It's something that she likes. So I kind of go into her, I guess, virtual world or her world to kind of, have that little connection. It's fun. It's just good to see her joy sometimes." I said to her, shooting games were never my thing. I loved RPG games, like those long drawn out games where you kind of what we call grind out the level. You get your resources, you level up, you get different weapons, you level up. The more XP you get, and so on, until you're good enough that you can beat that area boss. And once you do, you go to the next area and you do the same. You grind it out. I know it doesn't sound exciting. I loved it. I did. It was very drawn out. Things like Warcraft. I loved it. It was just the ability to get your character to be a different level, a stronger level every time. If you didn't have enough, if you leveled what you thought was enough and you fought the boss and you died, you just came back and had to keep on grinding out, gather more resources, gather more skills, more abilities, and then you go back until you had enough to be successful and conquer and then go to the next level again. And why am I talking about this? Recently, it's kind of come up. Over the years, I've heard parents who sit across from this desk and we talk about their children, how vision might be impacting their learning or their development. And we'll get to mixed responses. Lately, we've been hearing a little bit more of one being the parents will say, why didn't I catch this earlier? What, I must be such a bad parent, or what is wrong with me to not see it? The flip side of that, I'll even get a little bit of parents looking at you. Why didn't you tell me this happened? I had a patient who, 7 years old, they came in for a regular eye exam. No complaints at all. It was just something that they knew they needed to be done. This is the first one ever, and when I checked their eyes, didn't really expect anything to be obvious or poor, if you will, or a flag. And yet, there was one particular test that we call a near point of convergence, and that's a whole thing that I'll break down one day because it's an interesting concept in itself. Simple test, literally, how much can they bring their eyes in together? And he struggled. It was so poor. It was right out there that I again, there was no way he could perform well in school, and yet he did really well. He was an avid reader, loved it, and I sat in my chair really confused, thinking, how in the world is he seeing so well? I felt bad because I thought he really does need, or at least he would benefit from vision therapy. And yet, if there's no complaints, how in the world am I going to even talk about vision therapy? I didn't feel I'll say, congruency in that. So this was a weird one for me. And I remember telling the parents, look, this is going to sound strange. This is what I found. And I really strongly recommend you get a second opinion. I want you to think about that. The look on the dad's face was like, wait, what? You want me to get a second opinion on you? I said, no, I trust my diagnosis. I want you to be good with my diagnosis so that we can go to the next part of the conversation, because vision therapy has a lot of work. For those of you who've been through it, you know how beneficial it is, and you also know how much work you put in. If they had no complaints and I'm going to talk about vision therapy. You can see where the disconnect might fall. So with even when I brought him to the front, my staff looked at me like, "Are you serious? You're telling me to get a second opinion?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And yet, this is my wheelhouse. Again, it wasn't that I didn't trust me. I know I did a great job. I know what I saw. I needed them to at least get on board, and it was the easiest way in that time in my life. They did. They got the opinion, and the dad came back and said, "Okay, you got her attention. This is real. What does it mean, and what do we do?" And that's when I looked at the patient, 7 years old, and I said, "Look, I got to understand something. There's no way when you read, because I know you love reading, there's no way you don't see double. There's no way." And he looked at me, he's like, "No, I do. I see two books. I just read the one on the right." Now, I'm going to say this. I actually do think I'm pretty intelligent, and sometimes I can be slow, and I wish I would have thought of that question at the very beginning, the first time we met. And it is what it is. The dad's jaw was dropped open, and I think mine did too, because there was the awareness of, shoot, I should have just asked him that right off the bat. And that was a learning moment for me in that moment. And even more importantly, it taught me something else about him. That even though he had double vision, or a problem, if you will, as a 7-year old, he figured out a solution that worked for him. He just read the one on the right. And it worked. I had another patient who was a grade 2. Came to me, they were patients of the office, and struggled a little bit in reading, but didn't see how it was connected to vision. And hear me out, because he actually had good vision. He needed glasses, sure, and he saw well with the glasses. No big deal. And when I did my assessment, I started noticing that how he was holding his eyes together, how he was pointing his eyes, using his eyes, they weren't in a good team mode. They weren't supporting each other, the right eye and left eye. And I talked, and I said, "Look, this could impact school." And that's when the mom kind of perked up and said, "He is struggling reading. He's behind." Was it a big deal? Well, maybe not terrible, but if he continues to fall behind, what's it going to look like years from now? So we talked about vision therapy, and we started. By the end of vision therapy, by the end of that year in school, he had excelled so much in reading because he was learning how to move his eyes. Let's be clear, I didn't teach him how to read. We didn't work on reading skills. I can't even promise you we're going to make him a better reader. All I know was the vision that he had, the way he moved his eyes, probably wasn't conducive to reading appropriately, at least seeing the words. When he worked on that through vision therapy, he had the skills to point his eyes together, work them together, and he improved in reading. Now, why am I talking about these two patients? Well, we had two different types of patients. One who thrived in spite of having vision issues, and the other one who struggled a little bit. You will have the range. Why is this important? Well, the one child who saw double and yet read the one on the right, why didn't he complain? Because he figured out a solution. It wasn't a big deal because he figured out, would it catch up to him? Maybe, maybe not. And yet after vision therapy, he did so well that reading became even easier. School became even easier. Performance, he didn't have to work as hard, or there was less of a distraction of two images reading the one on the right. Why is this important? Because again, it goes back to we all do the best that we can with the resources we have. Just like in the video game, you go around collecting resources until you're good enough to defeat the boss. This comes to me because I'll also have the flip side, not just why am I a bad parent, or why did I miss this, things like that, why didn't you tell me, to can you fix my child? Can you fix my child's vision? Can you help my child? Can you fix this? I can't. The reason why I can't fix this is it presupposes that your child is broken. It presupposes that something is broken in the vision, and it's not. That 7-year-old who saw double did really well in school. His eyes weren't broken. He wasn't broken. He figured out a different way. The child who might have struggled a little bit in reading and was behind wasn't broken, except he needed to find new ways to gather new resources and skills so that he could conquer that boss at that level, figure out how to thrive, how to be successful, and reach the next level and kind of find new resources that were needed then, more appropriate. This is important to me recently because, again, vision therapy can be pretty powerful when it's appropriate, when it's a needed skill to learn. When parents have that guilt or that blame of themselves, I kind of want to reframe them and say, look, you're in front of me. You're bringing your child here. You're doing the best you can too with the resources you have. I don't expect them to be experts in eyes. However, as a parent, the fact that they brought their child in for a visual assessment Make sure the eyes are healthy, so important. Make sure the eyes work together, also so important. That's awesome. That's doing the best you can with the resources you have. And when they do that, at least we can figure out, can we help? And then how does the help look like? What does it entail? Look, if you don't know if your child is struggling, or maybe you are struggling, maybe you just want to reach that new level, and you're having a hard time finding what resources and skills you need to gather right now to make this part of your life, where you are at now, the next level of success, potential success, give us a call. Let us at least check the eyes, make sure everything is working well, or what the skill level of you using the eyes are at. And we go from there. Maybe it's not for you, maybe it's for somebody else that you know. At the end of the day, we're here to help if we can. I'd love to hear what your feedback on this is. And again, enjoy, have a good week, and I'll be back again next week. All right, have a nice day. Bye, guys.